And welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Live in Studio A, Michael Kuenzler, the co-owner of All Family Pharmacy. As flu and COVID-19 seasons approach us, even though fall football season's so much fun, but you have the sickness right around the corner, what are these recommendations you give to customers at All Family Pharmacy to make sure they're ahead of the curve and for households to be advance of any kind of disruptions that might throw off work and school schedules?
Yeah, so flu season gets obviously extremely busy for us. This is kind of where we started, was flu, COVID, specifically COVID. But the flu season, is very similar to COVID, right? It's same variants, same season, same year. We see a lot of flu patients. We have a lot of Tamiflu. This is my number one recommendation is Tamiflu. Tamiflu is used in a preventative or a sickness with symptoms for flu. And then we do a lot of off-label stuff with ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine. As you know, we've got big off of the ivermectin. A lot of our patients specifically just want ivermectin, or they just want, hydroxychloroquine or a combination. They want to make sure they're healthy enough to take it, and that they have just a little bit of guidance in taking it in a safe and effective way. So we always encourage to keep three main items in the household, one of them being Tamiflu, one of them being an antibiotic, and then one of them being, one of the off-label treatments you could try, ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine. I mean, we could sit here all day and go into a lot of different drugs that we carry for various symptoms, but not everybody gets sinus infections. Not everybody gets or has asthma. We have a lot of people who purchase rescue inhalers from us because when flu gets bad and you have asthma, you really need those inhalers to save your life. So those are the three main items that we suggest to prepare for.
And can you emphasize, Michael, why you start the preparations for flu and COVID early on rather than waiting until symptoms appear, and how that support from All Family Pharmacy really is robust for that proactive approach?
Yeah, so when it comes to emphasizing preparations for COVID season, for the months ahead with the symptoms and everything, we're going to suggest those three drugs we talked about, because when the supply chains get hit, they get hit hard. When one person, it's not just one person in the United States that has flu or COVID, it's millions of people. So traditionally around the December, January, February time, it's difficult for us to even find Tamiflu. There's a week where we'll go without a drug like that. There'll be a week where we can't find Z-Paks. There'll be a week where we can't get amoxicillin. And it's my job to make sure we have enough in store to make our patients happy, to make sure we have enough for our clientele. But again, when the supply chains are hit, they're hit hard in flu season. And then it piles on with the weather. The snow, the storms, it delays our shipping. It makes things very difficult to operate in those months of the year because of that. So we encourage our patients to go ahead and purchase ahead of time, so you're not stuck waiting for your medication that's stuck in Memphis, Tennessee because of FedEx, or at your local distribution center and there's a snowstorm and they refuse to deliver for 2 to 3 days, which, for good reasonings, but it's unfortunate for those who need it. So we're going to always encourage to prepare, be ready for those reasons.
I'm glad you mentioned Memphis. It's so much in the news right now, but also because Tennessee had a big snowstorm during the inauguration. Same with all the way down here in Alabama. So don't rest on your laurels in the Southeast, being that most of the time you don't get snow, but every once in a while that does happen, as you mentioned, Michael. In your experience and your expertise, what are some of those stock items that are most affected by that supply chain, and how can All Family Pharmacy counter that to, again, stock that medicine cabinet so that you have that life-saving medication at home or even on the road with you if you're taking a late in the year vacation?
Yeah, so we do a lot of emergency kits. I sit up here and I talk, I don't talk bad about emergency kits because sometimes they're great in different usages. But customizing your own emergency kit based on your fits, based on your lifestyle, based on your needs, having the Z-Paks on hand, having Tamiflu on hand. If you have trouble breathing because of asthma, having a rescue inhaler or a backup rescue inhaler, right? When we talk about these supply chains getting hit and being prepared, we're only talking about a week or two. So have enough medication to prepare for that week or two that can happen. And so we're big proponents of it. We want people to be prepared for that reason. And, another thing I've learned over the last 4 or 5 years from our patients who do this themselves is they'll prepare ahead of time. When the time comes and they get sick, they'll call me and they'll say, yeah, I'm sick with the flu, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, do you need a rush on it? They're like, no, I have my meds. I'm ready for this one, but I want to refill my meds because I want to be ready for the next one. And it's like, don't wait for that second one to come. It's okay to refill it. The expirations are always at least a year. The medication will be safe in your cabinet. So we encourage patients to follow what traditionally a lot of our patients have done over the last 4 or 5 years is be ahead of the curve.
Now, how has flu and COVID, since it's been introduced to us roughly 5 years ago, really overlapped, and how do you know which one is which in this process? But also, how has that affected pharmacies in the preventive measures and community support so that you prevent that community spread that we saw with both varying diseases? Because we know there's different strains of COVID, different strains of the flu, and ultimately you want to make sure, especially in the elderly and very young populations, that it does not spread fast, especially in community centers and schools and churches.
Yeah, so obviously number one is hygiene, keeping your hands clean, drinking plenty of water, staying hydrated, that helps. And then diversifying, whether it's flu, whether it's a sinus infection, whether it's one of these strains of COVID that keep coming out every year. But back to the original part of the question is it's been harder the last 5 years on pharmacies, hospitals, and doctors because now we've introduced COVID to the mix, whereas it was not just flu and RSV. Now we have people dealing with COVID and the strain right now, the H1B1 that we talk about with COVID, it's not that it's deadly, it's just very contagious. And it's frustrating for those who work, those who are trying to do their daily activities, who are just kind of bogged down by this COVID-like symptoms of fatigue and fever and sinus infections, like the stuffy nose and the sore throat. It's difficult to do your daily task, right? It'd be difficult for me as well as yourself. We do a lot of talking, and it would be hard to deal with that with COVID. So, we want to stay prepared and stay ahead of the curve when it comes to that. So it's harder now than ever. And every year we have these horrible snowstorms that it doesn't affect us in Florida, right? The sun's always shining here. We get the storms in the summertime, but the snowstorms affect our shipping. And a lot of our shipping goes direct through Memphis, Tennessee. And the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of people, they get frustrated. And I always see it in January and February. The snowstorms delay our packages 3, 4, 5 days. And it hurts the people that need the medication the most. So I'm always going to sit here and just tell you, please do what you can to be prepared. That way you're not one of the individuals who's frustrated because your package is stuck in another state when it should be at your home.
And speaking of that preparation, especially for those families with young members, with elderly as well, how would you professionally recommend they get prepared, including any seasonal promotions or consultations that might come directly from All Family Pharmacy?
Yeah, so we're always encouraging the elderly to be prepared. It's probably the most out of anybody. But they have to be wary about certain antibiotics. Obviously, they're going to be more susceptible to the symptoms from medications. We have licensed pharmacists who will guide them in the right direction when it comes to these antibiotics. We need to differentiate whether it's influenza, whether it's COVID, whether it's just a bacteria infection, just a common cold. We have trained professionals on staff that'll help. We have a team of doctors. But ultimately, if you want to get tested and you want to go through that for the elderly, we're going to suggest that for the elderly to differentiate what it is. But unfortunately, with flu, sometimes it takes 7 days to figure out it's influenza without a true flu test. And sometimes putting yourself through that frustration of doing it kind of puts you in a liability yourself because everybody around you could have influenza and you could be the one without it. So we're always going to tell you to be prepared with the medications. And again, Tamiflu doesn't hurt to take it in a prevention. It could only help the elderly. You take, I think it's just 1 capsule a day, and obviously our pharmacist will recommend it, but 1 capsule a day for 10 days if you feel like you have some symptoms. And if you test positive for influenza, it's 2 capsules a day for 5 days, and it'll shorten the duration of it. It's a cheap and effective medication. It's been around for 40, 50 years.
Looking at past seasons, especially during the winter time, how have you seen things evolve, especially at All Family Pharmacy, in order to better service customers with this time of year coming right around the corner? We're just weeks away, really, from winter, sadly, but we're going to enjoy fall. But again, it does come with the flu season, so good to be prepared.
Yeah, so we do a lot of these segments where we encourage our patients, with our advertisers to be prepared, to fight the curve, to beat the curve. We're going to continue to advocate, do it on social media, do it on our advertisements, and, do it over the phone. Why wait to be sick? Be prepared, get it ahead of time. But on an operations side, I do a lot of the purchasing, I do a lot of the negotiations, and we sit down with our wholesalers and we tell them, this is what we need and we need this on a weekly basis. And they have to provide that. That's part of doing business here with All Family Pharmacy. We're going to give them, great business because we have a lot of patients who are looking for these drugs. But what they have to do in advance is they have to provide us with the medications. And so with these standing orders, it allows their warehouses to hold more medication specifically for our pharmacy. And then when it arrives at our pharmacy, we're ready to go. In the past, we never had this stuff. We were always running out of medications and we couldn't keep it on hand. So I think that's something huge. And that's a thank you to the patients who have helped us get to this point, right? It's because of them that we can order this amount of medication at this point in our existence. But, stock up due to high demand. It's going to be a crazy winter, just like last year. And that's because of COVID and, all that other nonsense that happened 4 years ago.
Now, please share with us through allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN any special deals and how people can get this life-saving medication within 2 to 3 days, if not sooner, right to their doorstep by ordering today.
Yeah, so they can use RSBN 10 coupon code, 10% off their order. We have a lot of coupons we'll randomly come out with. We'll throw out there based on what we have available. We're creating a Substack, and we are highly encouraging our patients to sign up for the Substack. The Substack is going to be written by our pharmacist. We just hired a pharmacist/doctor with a PhD. She's going to be writing some of our Substacks, and this is information that we're going to provide free of charge. We're not charging for this, and this is going to help specifically the elderly, but every American, how to differentiate flu and COVID, what to do with antibiotics, a lot of our biohacking medications, when we're using off-label meds like ivermectin for cancer, safe and effective routes of taking it, why they're taking it, what people are doing during the course of it, what it's safe to take with, whether it's chemo or some other drugs. So we have a lot of information. I'm sorry I'm flying through it because we're creating so many different Substacks through our medical providers that we're going to provide free information so that our patients can go and, when they have time, read about it and be informed because that's what we want them to do.
It's an exciting thing. It's breaking news, and it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, your go-to online pharmacy to fight back against those PBMs, but ultimately to take care of you and your family. And we're grateful to you, Michael Kuenzler, co-owner of All Family Pharmacy, for joining us once again on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.